Welcome to HealthStream. Ready to become the brainiest person you know? Hit that subscribe button and get ready for a daily dose of knowledge delivered straight to your ears. You'll be the smartest person in any room, trust me. All right, today we're diving deep into natural nootropics. Seems like you guys are really interested in sharpening your thinking, boosting that memory, and maybe even getting a little mood lift along the way. You sent in a whole bunch of research summaries and even some interesting stuff about a specific supplement, so let's jump right in.
Yeah, it's really interesting how many people are exploring nootropics these days. You're definitely not alone in wanting to, optimize your brain power.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? I mean, the stuff you guys sent in mentioned some pretty relatable struggles, like feeling totally mentally drained after a long day, or like hitting that afternoon slump even after your morning coffee, or even just those frustrating "where did I put my keys" moments.
hmm
There's even some stuff about sleep troubles, like, racing thoughts at bedtime or waking up a million times during the night.
Yeah, and what's important to remember is that while those symptoms are super common, they're not just a normal part of aging.
Oh, interesting.
They could actually be signs of something a little deeper going on in the brain.
Okay, so like what could be happening that's causing these issues?
Well, the research points to three main areas: neuroinflammation, a leaky blood-brain barrier, and mitochondrial dysfunction. So imagine your brain cells are trying to, communicate, but the signals are all messed up because of inflammation.
Hmm.
It's kind of like static on a phone line.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So where does the whole blood-brain barrier thing fit into all of this?
Think of the blood-brain barrier as like a security system for your brain. It's supposed to keep toxins and other harmful stuff in the bloodstream from, getting in. But when it gets leaky, things that shouldn't be getting through can sneak in and cause all sorts of problems.
Gotcha. So we've got inflammation messing up communication and a leaky security system letting the wrong stuff in. What about mitochondrial dysfunction? What's that all about?
That one's all about energy production. Mitochondria are like the powerhouses inside our cells, including brain cells. And when they're not working right, well, it's like trying to run your brain on low battery power.
Ah, I see. So basically, all three of these things can really mess with our cognitive performance.
Yeah.
And this is where nootropics come in, right? They're like the support team coming in to try and fix these problems.
Yeah, exactly. Nootropics can work in a bunch of different ways to support brain health. They can help reduce inflammation, strengthen that blood-brain barrier we talked about, and even boost mitochondrial function. Some can even encourage new neurons to grow, which is pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. And what's really cool is that we're not just talking about those synthetic lab-created compounds here. The research you sent in dives deep into natural nootropics, like we're talking everything from plants and herbs to vitamins and minerals.
Right. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, those natural compounds that have the potential to really enhance and protect your brain. Let's start with some of the botanicals that are often talked about as nootropics.
Perfect. I'm really curious about this rhodiola rosea. It sounds so, like, exotic. What's the deal with that one?
Rhodiola is what's known as an adaptogen, which basically means it helps your body deal with stress better. There's a study highlighted in the research where med students took rhodiola before exams, and guess what? They had better mental performance and way less fatigue.
Wow, I wish I knew about that back in my student days. The exams were brutal. Okay, so what about lion's mane? That name is just so intriguing.
Lion's mane is a type of mushroom, and it's getting a lot of attention for its potential brain benefits. What's really fascinating is that research suggests it can actually help new brain cells grow, which is like super crucial for learning and memory.
Wow, so it's like giving your brain the building blocks to create new pathways.
Exactly.
So it seems like there's more to mushrooms than just, being a tasty addition to your dinner. Speaking of things we eat, what about Bacopa monnieri? I have a feeling I could really use some of that for my memory.
Bacopa has a long history of being used to help with memory, and modern research is starting to confirm that. It seems to work by improving how neurons communicate, which is like the key for forming and recalling memories.
Makes sense.
In fact, studies have shown that healthy adults taking Bacopa actually had better reaction times and their memory speed improved too.
Interesting. Okay, I'm adding that to my shopping list. Now, ginkgo biloba is something I've seen around forever. What's its claim to fame in the nootropics world?
Ginkgo biloba is often talked about for its potential to improve cognitive function, especially for people dealing with dementia. It seems to boost blood flow to the brain and protect against damage from those pesky free radicals. The important thing, though, is to use it consistently and at the right dose.
So not all ginkgo supplements are made equal. Interesting. Okay, this next one really caught my eye. Coffee fruit extract, or neurofactor. So, like, it's not just the caffeine in our coffee that's good for our brains.
Nope. It turns out the fruit that surrounds the coffee bean actually has some beneficial compounds too.
Oh,
Neurofactor is extracted from the whole coffee fruit, and it's been shown to increase the levels of BDNF in the brain.
wait, BDNF. Didn't we talk about that with lion's mane?
That's right. Both lion's mane and neurofactor can boost BDNF, which is a protein that's super important for brain cell growth and survival. It's like fertilizer for your brain.
That's so wild. So even my morning coffee can actually help me have a healthier brain.
Yeah.
I'm definitely seeing things in a whole new light now. What other botanical nootropics are out there?
Let's talk about Polygala tenuifolia. It's a traditional Chinese medicine herb. Research suggests that it can help balance out those neurotransmitters in your brain, those chemical messengers that help your neurons communicate.
So it's like making sure those brain messengers are running smoothly. What else?
Okay, next up is pine bark extract, also known as enzogenol. You know how we're always told to eat those antioxidant-rich foods? Well, pine bark extract is loaded with them. It helps protect the brain from damage caused by free radicals.
So it's like a shield for our brains, fending off those harmful free radicals. That's a pretty powerful image.
Exactly. Now, we can't forget about Panax ginseng. It's a real powerhouse botanical. It's been shown to protect the brain from damage and maybe even slow down those neurodegenerative diseases.
Wow.
While also giving you some immediate cognitive benefits like better focus.
So it's like having a bodyguard and a personal trainer for your brain, all in one.
Pretty much. And last but not least, there's a nootropic you can actually enjoy eating blueberries.
I love blueberries.
Yeah.
And now I'm even happier to know they're good for my brain, too.
They are a great source of antioxidants, and they've been linked to increased BDNF levels and improved cognitive function.
Awesome. Okay, it's amazing how many natural compounds can support brain health.
It is. And this is really just a glimpse into the world of botanical nootropics. There's so much more to explore, and research is constantly uncovering new stuff.
This has been so fascinating. But botanicals are only part of the picture, right? What about vitamins and minerals? Do any of those play a role in boosting brain power?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are a bunch of vitamins and minerals that are super important for keeping your brain running smoothly. One that really stands out is a form of vitamin E called tocotrienols.
Tocotrienols. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. What makes them so special?
Well, they've got some pretty amazing antioxidant and anti-inflammatory powers, even more so than other types of vitamin E. Some research even suggests that they could help protect against Alzheimer's disease.
Wow, so when it comes to vitamin E and brain health, it sounds like tocotrienols are the ones to keep an eye on.
It seems that way. Now let's switch gears and talk about the B vitamin complex, specifically those methylated B vitamins.
Why the emphasis on methylated? What's the big deal with that?
Well, you see, methylation is a super important process in the body. It's involved in everything from DNA replication to producing those neurotransmitters we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And some people actually have genetic variations that make it tough for their bodies to convert regular B vitamins into their active methylated forms.
So it's all about making sure our bodies can actually use those B vitamins properly.
Exactly. B vitamins are essential for energy production in the brain, and they also help break down homocysteine, which is a compound that can lead to cognitive decline. It builds up too much.
Got it. So getting enough of those methylated B vitamins could help keep our brains energized and protect against cognitive decline. Are there any other vitamins or minerals we should be thinking about?
Definitely. Magnesium is another one that plays a key role. It's involved in hundreds of processes in the body, including how those neurotransmitters work and protecting the brain from damage caused by overstimulation. Studies have even linked low magnesium levels in the brain to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
It sounds like magnesium is like the ultimate multitasker when it comes to brain health.
I like that. And when you're looking at magnesium supplements, magnesium taurate seems to be the most effective for actually increasing magnesium levels in the brain.
So magnesium taurate is like the brain-boosting MVP of the magnesium world.
You got it.
This is all incredibly interesting. I'm learning so much about how these different nutrients can really impact brain health. What other categories of natural nootropics should we explore?
Let's move on to amino acids and peptides.
Okay.
These are the building blocks of proteins, and they're also super involved in how our brains function, like in making neurotransmitters and producing energy.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. What are some of the key amino acids and peptides to know about?
One that's often talked about is L-tyrosine. It's actually a precursor to dopamine, adrenaline, and noradrenaline, which are neurotransmitters that are super important for things like mood, motivation, focus, and even how we handle stress.
So, like, if I'm feeling stressed and mentally drained, could L-tyrosine help me stay focused and on top of things?
That's what the research suggests. Studies have shown that taking L-tyrosine supplements can actually help you maintain your cognitive function even when you're under pressure.
Wow, that's really good to know, especially in today's world where everything seems to be go, go, go. Now, I'm a huge tea drinker, so I'm really curious about L-theanine. I know it's found in tea, but how does it actually work as a nootropic?
Well, L-theanine is known for promoting relaxation and this kind of calm focus.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that it seems to work really well with caffeine.
Oh, interesting.
So you get the cognitive boost from the caffeine without the jitters and anxiety that can sometimes come along with it.
Ah, that makes total sense. That's probably why a cup of tea can feel both calming and mentally stimulating at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, what about creatine? I usually think of that as something for athletes and muscle building. How does that fit into the brain power picture?
Yeah, while creatine is famous for its role in like boosting physical performance, it's actually found in the brain too.
Oh, really?
Yep, it serves as an energy source for neurons. And there's research that suggests that creatine can actually improve memory and cognitive function, especially in people who don't get much of it in their diet, like vegetarians and vegans.
Huh. So even if you're not hitting the gym, creatine can still be a helpful tool for supporting brain health.
That's right.
What about ALO-CAR? That one's totally new to me. What's the story there?
ALEAR, which stands for acetyl L-carnitine, is a form of carnitine that's particularly good for the brain because it can easily cross that blood-brain barrier we talked about earlier. It helps support mitochondrial function, those cellular powerhouses, and it might even help slow down the progression of neurodegenerative diseases.
So it's like giving those little energy factories in our brains a much-needed tune-up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, another important amino acid for brain health is GABA, which stands for gamma amino butyric acid.
GABA. I feel like I've heard that before. Doesn't it have something to do with relaxation and sleep?
You're right on the money. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter that helps to regulate brain activity and reduce anxiety. But research also suggests that GABA plays a role in cognitive function, attention, and memory. Some studies have even shown that increasing GABA levels can improve your attention and multitasking skills.
Interesting. So it's not just about feeling calm and relaxed, but it's also about maintaining cognitive function. What other amino acids or peptides should we cover?
Let's talk about cholinergics. These are compounds that increase acetylcholine levels in the brain. And acetylcholine is a super important neurotransmitter for learning, memory, and just overall cognitive function.
Okay, so how do these cholinergics work? What are some examples?
They basically work by either providing the building blocks for making acetylcholine or by blocking the enzyme that breaks it down. Two examples that you might have heard of are alpha-GPC and CDP-choline.
Alpha-GPC and CDP-choline.
Yeah, those names ring a bell. Are those available as supplements?
They sure are. Research on alpha-GPC suggests that it could actually be even more effective than some conventional drugs for preventing cognitive decline.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. What about CDP-choline? What are its strengths?
CDP-choline is a direct precursor to phosphatidylcholine, which is a major component of cell membranes, including those in the brain.
And it's been shown to improve attention and memory in both healthy adults and those who are experiencing some cognitive impairment.
So it's kind of like giving the brain the materials it needs to build those healthy cell membranes, which are crucial for optimal brain function.
Exactly. And lastly, let's touch on huperzine A, which is a natural compound that's extracted from a type of moss.
Moss. That's a pretty interesting source for a nootropic.
It might sound surprising, but huperzine A is actually a powerful acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. That basically means it prevents acetylcholine from being broken down. It works in a similar way to some medications used for Alzheimer's disease, and it can lead to improvements in cognitive function for people who are experiencing cognitive decline.
So it's like a natural version of some of those Alzheimer's drugs.
You could say that, yeah.
Right.
It targets the same pathway, increasing those acetylcholine levels in the brain, which can be really beneficial for people struggling with cognitive issues.
This whole deep dive into natural nootropics has been so eye-opening. I'm already starting to rethink how I can support my brain health.
It's pretty fascinating stuff, isn't it? And we've really just scratched the surface here.
Right.
There are tons of other natural compounds out there with potential cognitive benefits, and the research is always evolving.
I'm definitely eager to learn more. Now, I do want to bring up something that was mentioned in the research you sent in a specific nootropic supplement called UltraBrain.
Right. The research you guys sent does highlight that specific supplement, and they claim that it contains a lot of the compounds we've been talking about today.
Exactly. And it's really important for us to emphasize that we're not endorsing any particular product here.
Absolutely. It's super important for everyone to do their own research, talk to their healthcare provider, and be cautious about any claims that are made about supplements.
I totally agree. We're here to give you information and insights based on the research you sent, but ultimately it's up to each individual to make informed decisions about their health.
Well said.
So let's take a step back and recap some of the key takeaways from our deep dive so far. We've learned that those common symptoms like brain fog, low energy, and trouble focusing, those aren't necessarily just a normal part of aging.
Right.
They can actually be signs of underlying issues like neuroinflammation, a leaky blood-brain barrier, or mitochondrial dysfunction. And we've explored this huge range of natural nootropics, from those botanicals like rhodiola rosea and lion's mane to vitamins and minerals like tocotrienols and magnesium, and even those amino acids and peptides like L-tyrosine and L-theanine.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's pretty amazing to think that nature provides us with so many compounds that can actually support our cognitive function, our mood, and our overall brain health.
It really is amazing.
And while we did touch on that specific supplement, UltraBrain, it's super important to reiterate that we can't endorse any particular product.
Yep, totally agree.
We really encourage you guys listening to do your own research, consult with your healthcare providers, and just approach those supplement claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. So where do we go from here? What's the next step for our listeners who are super interested in exploring this world of nootropics even further?
Well, I think a good place to start is by, just incorporating more of those brain-boosting foods into your diet.
Okay.
Things like blueberries, fatty fish, leafy greens. Those can give your brain a lot of the nutrients it needs to really thrive.
Yeah, that's a great starting point. I'm always up for adding more yummy, healthy foods to my plate. And it's a good reminder that, supporting brain health doesn't have to be this super complicated thing.
Exactly. And you can also, check out some reputable sources of information on natural nootropics.
Right.
Things like scientific journals and evidence-based websites. Don't just take those marketing claims at face value.
Yeah.
Dig a little deeper and see what the research actually says.
That's such good advice. I mean, there's just so much information out there these days. It can be overwhelming.
It really can.
So it's definitely important to be really discerning and make sure you're looking at credible sources. But even beyond diet and supplements, what are some other lifestyle factors that can make a big difference when it comes to brain health?
Those lifestyle factors are so important. They're really the foundation of a healthy brain. We've already talked a bit about sleep, stress management, and exercise, but it's worth repeating.
For sure.
It's all about creating an environment where your brain can actually flourish, not just, get by.
So it's not just about adding things like nootropics, but it's about creating this whole supportive, nurturing lifestyle for our brains.
Exactly. It's about looking at the big picture. Think of it like this. If you were taking care of a garden,
Okay.
you wouldn't just focus on adding fertilizer.
Right.
You'd also make sure the soil was healthy, that the plants were getting enough sunlight and water, and you'd be weeding out anything that could be, stunting their growth.
Oh, I love that analogy. We really do need to tend to our brains with that same kind of care and attention we would give to a prized garden. So if we were to imagine the ultimate brain-boosting lifestyle, what would that look like?
That's a great question. I think it all starts with really appreciating the incredible capacity our brains have for growth and change. Our brains are always adapting and rewiring themselves throughout our entire lives, and that's pretty remarkable.
It really is. So it's about embracing that idea that our brains aren't just fixed, they're constantly evolving.
Exactly. And that means we have way more power than we think to shape our brain health as we get older.
That's such an empowering way to look at it.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key ingredients in this ultimate brain-boosting lifestyle?
Well, like we've been discussing, nutrition is a huge piece of the puzzle. But beyond that, movement is essential. Getting regular exercise, even if it's just a daily walk,
Yeah.
It increases blood flow to the brain, encourages new brain cells to grow, and just generally improves cognitive function.
So it's not just about being physically fit, it's about being mentally fit too.
Precisely. And then there's sleep, which is another cornerstone. When we sleep, our brains are hard at work, consolidating memories, getting rid of toxins, and just basically repairing themselves.
Like giving our brains that chance to recharge and reset.
Exactly. And of course, there's stress management. Chronic stress is really bad news for the brain. It can lead to inflammation, impair cognitive function, and even increase the risk of those neurodegenerative diseases we talked about.
Right, right. So finding healthy ways to deal with stress, like mindfulness, meditation, or spending time in nature, is really important.
For sure. And lastly, I think having a sense of purpose and connection is vital. Doing things that we find meaningful, nurturing our relationships, and contributing to something bigger than ourselves, all of that contributes to a sense of fulfillment that really nourishes the brain.
Yeah, it's about living a life that feels, purposeful and connected, and that in turn supports our brain health. It's a beautiful cycle. This whole conversation has been so inspiring. It's so clear that creating a brain-boosting lifestyle is about so much more than just popping a pill.
I agree.
It's about creating a life that truly supports and nourishes our brains in every single way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And while nootropics can definitely be helpful tools, they work best when they're part of that bigger picture, that holistic approach that prioritizes every aspect of brain health.
So well said. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the amazing world of natural nootropics and the ultimate brain-boosting lifestyle. We hope you learned some valuable stuff today and are feeling empowered to really take charge of your brain health. Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the research we talked about. And if you're loving these deep dives, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.